Here are your Court News Ohio top stories in 5 minutes. The Franklin County prosecutor is asking the Ohio Supreme Court to overturn a court decision that invalidated a search by Columbus police. 2 suspects were arrested in a 2014 drug bust after an officer witnessed one man walk in and out of a home before a suspected narcotics exchange in a nearby alley. The detainment happened after the officer took a baggie he saw in one of the men's hands, which later tested positive for heroin. A trial court suppressed the evidence after it ruled his rights against unreasonable search and seizure were violated. The prosecutor argues the suspect isn't protected by the Fourth Amendment because he wasn't searched and the drugs were not seized from him. Working in a kitchen is all about consistency.
Those basic things, like what it means to be dependable and responsible for your job.
And for the women learning about cuisine here, it's more than about what's on the menu.
And it's not just a job, it's a community supportive services.
That's because these trainees have been out of service, both professionally and personally, for years, as victims of human trafficking.
Them streets beat me up so bad that I knew that if I didn't get a structured program, that I'd have never made it.
Before her latest scoop, Clarissa was your typical working mom when crimes caused by a pill addiction led her to prison at 33. When she got out for theft and forgery, her solitude continued and led her to heroin.
I felt hopeless, so I numbed that pain. I did that for many years.
Fortunately, Clarissa had faith and another shot at freedom with a catering company that serves survivors like her struggling with dependency. Freedom a la carte first started as a simple gesture to feed survivors attending the state's first human trafficking court in Franklin County in 2009.
I can't go on like that.
2 years later, it became a food cart during the summer. Today, it's a full-scale catering company with the hopes of having its very own cafe.
Not only expand the number of women that we serve, but also have a home base so that survivors can come and hang out.
No person symbolizes the nonprofit's growth as much as April Thacker.
I thought I was going to die, either from suicide, from drugs, from the tricks that were picking me up, or from the trafficker.
Her record kept her from building a life of her own until she started boxing and bagging at Freedom 5 years ago.
I was going to work really, really hard so I could prove that I was no longer a menace to society, but I could be a member of society.
As the list of things to do grew, so did her role as a case manager. Now she's helping these women stay clean as they organize independent lives.
I believe everything that I went through was just kind of like training and schooling, if you will, to help me do what I do today.
There are many paths for those who end up in a human trafficking court.
You ladies are so strong.
Often, the road down a dire track of victimization is the result of seeds planted years earlier.
My mom was an addict, and my dad, he's been in prison all my life.
For some, those vulnerabilities came from what they witnessed. For others, it was from what they've been told.
Always thinking you're never good enough, or always feeling like nothing you do is ever going to amount to anything.
In certain instances, those words to a victim are a matter of life and death from someone they trust.
He threatened her and told her if you ever get caught by the police, I'm going to kill you.
To cope, many experiment with drugs, then become dependent on them as an escape. By the time survivors end up in Franklin County Municipal Court's Catch Court or one of Ohio's 3 other human trafficking specialized dockets, the trust issues are evident.
Everyone very open-armed and welcoming, but I'm used to being out on the street, so I kind of thought it was a bunch of crap at first.
The healing process takes years, if not a lifetime. That's because the psychological wounds take much longer to recover than physical ones.
They will shut down if their trauma starts to kick in.
Fortunately, with patience and persistence from both support staff and survivors, things improve. In many cases, it simply requires a vision, whether it's figurative or literal.
You can see she's in a prison. There's a pathway out, and she's got a dream, and that's being set free.
That liberation from darkness creates a bond for these women, not only with court personnel, but seemingly lost loved ones.
You see mothers and daughters get back together, and then the daughters get their kids back, and to see that kind of healing is worth everything.
And that's a look at Court News Ohio's top stories. Visit courtnewsohio.gov for the latest headlines on Ohio's courts. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter.